breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, Dr. Glenn Harrison, the man across the screen.
Hey, Dr. Kolby.
How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well.
Busy day? Yeah.
It has been. It was actually a crazy day. I didn't realize it. I thought I had enough time to do my paperwork, and that ran a little late. And I think your day was pretty intense as well, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I was super busy. Tomorrow's super busy as well, which hard to complain about, right? Yeah. I mean, we can, but it's hard to.
That's good. And the topic today is a little bit of a deviation, I believe, from what we maybe usually talk about if there's any one category that we're talking about. But I'll let you jump into that. Yeah,
so today we are going to talk about something that affects a lot of people. It can often be like a debilitating condition, and that is actually some common eye conditions and common eye ailments. If this is your first time listening or watching, and you like the information, please hit like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it with your friends, family members, or loved ones so that they can also get access to this information, because you never know, we might be doing something next that applies to you. But without further ado, let's break down some of the most common causes or the most common conditions affecting eyesight.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a few. And I know when we're going through this list, some of the stuff even surprised us. So cataracts, that's a major cause. One of the most common causes of progressive damage to the eyes. Mm-hmm. Macular degeneration. That's a huge one. I know when we were looking at that, currently 11 million people are diagnosed that are suffering with that, and it's expected to double by 2050. Remember when we were looking at that? Was absolutely amazing.
So in 30 years, it's going to go from 11 million to 22 million individuals that are diagnosed and suffer from macular degeneration.
So maybe let's just kind of break that down. Macular degeneration, most common cause of blindness is 50 and up. Age-related blindness. Yep. And I think we want to take away from what we want to call age-related blindness, because if it's age-related, well, it means there's nothing we can do. Well, whoever's listening, there's a lot we can do. One of the biggest causes of macular degeneration isn't necessarily age, but exposure. Obesity. And when we were looking at this, obesity was a big one. Naturally smoking will destroy every tissue in your body, but your eyes are so sensitive. So smoking is and Caucasian, higher risk. And there's a lot more research on this, and this really hits home to me because I see more and more of it. A lot more research around macular degeneration and blue light exposure. So the frequency of blue light coming off our world right now. Every screen that we're looking at right now, TV, cell phones, computers, there's a high frequency light, and it's really burning out our macula, and it's progressively destroying our macula. So earlier generations that weren't around technology and screens like we are now, maybe they were lower risk, but that is why that statistic is expecting to go up. From 11 million, it's going to double in 30 years. Screens are a big part of this. So, and before I keep rambling here, what are a couple other ones, and we'll start dissecting these disorders.
Yeah, so when we were looking through and trying to glean out what we thought would be the most pertinent information for you guys, so obviously the cataracts, that is just like hardening of the lens and like some opacities or like some cloudiness developing in the lens of your eyes. Talk about macular degeneration and all the comorbidities that can like be associated with that. But then we look at stuff like glaucoma, right? And there are certain risk factors associated with glaucoma. Elevated cholesterol. African Americans are more likely to suffer from glaucoma than their counterparts. And really, when you look at glaucoma is the second leading cause of blindness worldwide. And when you look at macular degeneration, I mean, that kind of makes sense, right? You get 11 million people right now that have it. But glaucoma is a big one. One of the ones that we really see kind of regularly in our practice, and something that's actually going to be growing exponentially as well, is when you look at things like diabetic retinopathy, which is like unregulated blood sugar that actually causes death of the macula, or death of the macula in the back of the eye, the retina, not the macula. And And when you look at it, 1 out of every 3 diabetics have diabetic retinopathy, which can ultimately lead to blindness. And you look at the prevalence of diabetes going up in our country and worldwide, like this is going to be a huge deal in the future.
Right now in the United States, 50% of the American population are either pre-diabetic or diabetic.
50%. And out of that 50%, 33% of them have diabetic retinopathy already.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's going to be a huge statistic in the future.
And, yeah, 90% of all diabetic cases, or 95% of all diabetic cases, are type 2, which are exclusively lifestyle dependent. So the vast majority of diabetic retinopathy is lifestyle dependent, meaning it doesn't have to happen.
Yep.
That's big. That's huge. Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing that we talked about are like unresolved refractory errors, which is basically, your nearsightedness, your farsightedness, astigmatism, or like presbyopia, which is kind of basically, it's as we age, our lens hardens. So it's less elastic. So we have a harder time changing the shape of our lens. So we kind of become farsighted. Mm-hmm. That's why everyone has to wear cheaters.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. We talked about, cataracts. I don't know if we even talked about some risk factors of that. I know cataracts has higher rates there's higher risk of cataracts if there's lipid problems. So high cholesterol, hyperlipidemia, steroids. I know you pulled that research up. Steroids are high risk factors for cataracts. Mm-hmm. And then we just look around how many people are on steroids, intermittently or long-term in the American society. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah. So there's a massive risk factor there. Macular degeneration. We talked about the risk factors and blue light. So what can, other than, we'll go down the list, what we can do. So what can we do for macular degeneration? I talked about blue light exposure. Don't fall into what I get a lot of my clients asking. Well, Dr. Harrison, I have this app on my phone or app on my computer. I can just use it, and it puts on night vision, and then there's no blue light. It's you can't shut down blue light that much with an application. It might reduce it, but it's not going to
eliminate it. It's not going to eliminate it.
So what'll happen? This blue light won't prematurely destroy your eyes, because that's what's going to happen. It'll can create migraines and tension and all sorts of irritability and anxiety.
Alterations in your circadian rhythm.
Exactly.
Your sleep.
Yeah. So it plays a big role. And one of the things that I'm an advocate of is just get a cover for your screen. Just get a cover, especially your work screens that you're always on, or your cell phone if you're always looking at it. You can get blue light covers, and it doesn't throw it off that much, but you won't get all that eye strain, and your eyes will love you for it. Then there's other, more aggressive measures where you can wear blue light glasses. They kind of look a little bit interesting, but they will save your eyes. We'll see people sleep better. We'll see all sorts of changes, and can we imagine what that'll do to or how that'll preserve our eyes, 20 years down the road?
Yeah.
We
measures right now.
Yeah, we don't know what this massive amount of blue light exposure is what our society's eyes are gonna look like 20 years down the road. We have no clue. This is a big experiment right now. So there are some nutrients too. I'm just kind of beating up macular degeneration, and I'm also a big fan of these nutrients. I think I told you, Dr. Kolby, when I ride my motorcycle. That's one of my passions. In the canyons of Colorado, for the longest time, I always thought the headlight on my motorcycle was dirty. At night, I'd be going around corners, and I was just a little bit more unsure of my driving or my vision. And I never ever had a vision problem. And then I came across some research of some nutrients like lutein, zeaxanthin. Those two big ones, but there's other ones, ginkgo biloba, if I'm pronouncing that right, and bilberry fruit extract. These are some nutrients that we'll find in a lot of eye supplements. And even when I started some of these, within a month, I was able to ride through the canyons and my eyes didn't bother me. So my night vision actually improved. And these nutrients not only are shown to assist with preventing macular degeneration, but reduce the negative effects, the damage of blue light exposure.
Right. Helps with
So
that oxidative stress.
exactly. Yeah. So there's a few things we can do for macular degeneration. Focusing on blue light, I think, is a big one. And of course, if there is a weight problem, get that under control. If there's smoking, there's no room for smoking in eye health. It just doesn't work. Do you have anything else to add about macular degeneration?
No, I mean, like we talked about, if you have cholesterol issues, you're going to want to control them. You're going to want to limit or modify the amount of blue light you got. Control the lifestyle factors that you can, right?
Yeah.
And then if you want to do a supplement, you can. Interestingly enough, it's funny because when you started talking about some of these, these supplements and extracts and stuff like that, I cannot find it for the life of me. I looked, but I read an article probably about 6 or 8 years ago about how the British government was actually giving their pilots bilberry fruit extract to improve their vision while flying. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I can't find it though. I don't know where I saw it.
And way back then, right? They already figured it out.
Yep.
That's pretty exciting. So, I know we talked about glaucoma. What are your thoughts on any preventative efforts or any lifestyle efforts or anything that we want to control in our bloodstream, if there is, for trying to mitigate the progression of glaucoma or possibly even the onset of glaucoma?
Sure. I mean, you got to look at here's the thing, like you can only control what you can control, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't control your ethnicity. You can't control your heritage. You can't control any of that. But what you can control is your diet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can look at your diet, and if you have elevated cholesterol, you can bet that if I was at risk of this, I would probably be doing something about it proactively.
That's right.
And that's not just for your eye health. That's for your total health. You know what I mean? Like you're going to just live a healthier life if you're healthy. I mean, it sounds stupid, but if you have cholesterol problems or you have cardiovascular problems or something like that, implementing these small lifestyle changes can be really, really important. So controlling your cholesterol, eating a balanced diet. And if you have some of these predisposing factors, and just make sure you control what you can control.
Yeah. And another thing with glaucoma, it's determined, the severity of glaucoma is the eye pressure. Mm-hmm. So you go to your doctor and they check your eye pressure. There are a few things that, that we came across that aggravates, that or enhances that eye pressure, progressing glaucoma, if you will. Hypertension. If there's a blood pressure problem, that's not going to be good. Consistent caffeine, or excess caffeine is a big one. I've had more than one case, and I'm not going to say that I cured it by no means, but I've had more than one case in my office that one of the things that they were dealing with, which I wasn't focusing on, that was glaucoma that disappeared. How does glaucoma disappear? What did we do? I don't know. I think we got the human healthier. We've got the cholesterol levels came down. The human had more energy. There was less inflammation, and eye pressure went down. They actually, their diagnosis of glaucoma was removed off their medical record.
Which is pretty dang cool when you look at
it.
It
is. And I don't know what happened. I just knew that the plant needs what the plant needs, and we made the plant healthy, and then all sorts of exciting things happen. So
now there's a caveat to that too. That's only a certain type of glaucoma. There's more than one type of glaucoma.
That's right.
So
that's exactly right. So there's a few. We won't go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. I mean, we can, yeah.
So what about and then what can we do to, well, we talked about diabetes and diabetic retinopathy, and what can be done with that. It's the
diet lifestyle. We
control
the blood sugar. We have a podcast on diabetes.
I think we have one or two.
Probably.
I don't know. We have a few on it. So I'll try to put some links below. If not, they're on our channel.
If you guys want to watch that, that's a good podcast. There's a lot of good information in there as well. If you're a diabetic, highly recommend that.
Yeah, there's no escaping the consequences of diabetes unless you're going to take on a lifestyle.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
For sure.
And then as far as the other ones, as far as like refractory errors, so near farsightedness, presbyopia, astigmatism, all that kind of stuff. You can do it with like corrective lenses. You can do it with contact lenses. Some people are good candidates for LASIK. Just go to your optometrist, and he can help you out a little bit more than we can on this one.
Yeah, there is a place for that. And maybe one of the biggest things is if there are eye problems and there's a symptom, a vision problem already, do not just kind of ignore that and say you're going to do all this stuff. Go to your eye doctor. The eye doctor can catch all sorts of things that would have been missed prior. The eyes tell them a lot. So I think, I thought you gave me a few cases where there were pretty severe diagnoses that were caught early enough just from eye exams.
Yeah, I've actually caught a couple people with undiagnosed diabetes, and they came in and they were like, everything just feels foggy, and I looked in the back of their eyes. I'm like, oh, that's why. And then you send them out to their endo, or you order some blood work, and that's, it was undiagnosed diabetes, and it actually had already started to eat into their retina. So it can happen. It can happen really quickly. So if you are a diabetic, make sure that you get that under control, because that's something that, like, once it's affected, it's affected for the most part.
That's exactly right. So I guess the moral of the eye story, the summary of the eye podcast video cast is the majority of eye damage and the majority of blindness due to chronic illness has nothing to do with, it has very little to do with age, and the majority of it is progressive lifestyle disorders, lifestyle disease that build and build and build and build and build over time, in modern lifestyle, build and build and build over time. And it doesn't happen when we're 50. It actually starts much, much earlier. And if it's caught, it's altered, and it's focused on with some of the things that we talked about, there should be and will be significant reduction in risk factors.
You bet. So if you already have some of the predisposing factors, or you already have some of these risk factors, be proactive about it. Don't wait, because it can save you a whole lot of heartache and save your vision, honestly, if you catch it early enough and you're proactive about it. So
that's right.
If you guys like this podcast, if you got value out of this podcast, like we talked about before, hit like and subscribe, share this information with your friends, family members, loved one, or anyone that you feel like might get value out of this podcast, and turn on notifications, because we're going to continue to let out a new episode every single week where we break down either a common health concern or something that's going on in the health community, or some disconnect between doctors and patients, or just some personal experiences. And we hope to help you guys in any way we can. If you'd like to get a hold of us, our contact information is info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com. You can get on our websites. Our websites are www.northlakeschiropractic.com, which is mine. And then Dr. Glenn's is www.drgharrison.com. Guy's got absolute plethora of information on there. So give that a check out too, because he's got a ton of information on there.
Yeah, take advantage of it. That's what it's
well done on that.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that was great. I look forward to the next one, Dr. Kolby.
All right, buddy. Till next time.
Bye-bye.